8 on AM 560. It's time for a dry basement and a healthy home. It's time to call Permaseal, 800-421-SEAL. From our 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center, the latest on the forecast with meteorologist Steve Williams.
Clouds and cooler, occasional rain and drizzle this morning, shower and a thunderstorm for the afternoon, high 65. Rain tonight could be heavy, watch out for some flash flooding, low 59. A shower early tomorrow morning, a breezy day, and the high at 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
60 at O'Hare, 57 Lakefront. Next news, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Make sure to check out the Income Store live video stream of today's show right now at 560theanswer.com.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Senator Lindsey Graham on with Sean Hannity, saying essentially the same thing I was saying yesterday. The reporting by the D.C. press corps on the Barr/Durham probe of the 2016 election. Barr talked to Australian Foreign Service officers. Barr's talking to the Italians. Barr's talking to the Brits. Barr had called Trump after the Mueller report to give advice about Giuliani. Barr.
Yeah, and then you have, Eric Holder bashing Barr and then Lindsey Graham supporting Barr.
It's more than that. It's about trying to undermine and end the look back into 2016. One of the things that Hannity pointed out from a Politico article back in 17 last night was that the reporting, Politico now reporting this, was as part of the investigation into what transpired in 2016, the suggestion was, the reporting was, that there were elements, operators in Ukraine that were acting to interfere with the election for the benefit of Hillary Clinton. And you've got a big shoe yet to drop, and the Democrats know it, and that's the Durham report.
When is the Durham report coming out?
Nobody knows. Set a date for it,
right.
But we're waiting for it. And I don't want to overstate there's all kinds of things that are possible, but I would suggest at minimum, and the Democrats know this, it is going to further muddy the issue, and muddying the issue becomes a political problem for them in this political pursuit of President Trump and removing him from office. Any lack of clarity creates questions that create doubt that eliminate the potential for them to achieve their desired end, which is Trump's removal. And this was the point that Lindsey Graham was making in part last night on Hannity.
This New York Times article about Barr talking to Australia is the beginning of an effort to it's the beginning of an effort to shut down Barr's investigation to find out how this whole thing started. And let me tell you why. I want to say on national television, Barr should be talking to Australia. He should be talking to Italy. He should be talking to the UK to find out if their intelligence services work with our intelligence services improperly to open up a counterintelligence investigation of Trump's campaign. If he's not doing that, he's not doing his job. So I'm going to write a letter to all three countries and asking them to cooperate with Barr. Now, this is a letter sent by my Democratic colleagues in May of 2018 to the Ukraine saying that if you don't cooperate with the Mueller investigation, we're going to stop our aid. So here's what I want American people to know. It's okay to cooperate with Mueller to get Trump, but it's not okay to cooperate with Barr to find out if Trump was a victim of an out-of-control intelligence operation. We're not going to have a country like that.
It's perfect framing. Perfect framing. That's exactly what this is. And Graham continued.
This really bothers me a lot, that the left is going to try to say there's something wrong with Barr talking to Australia, Italy, and the United Kingdom. If you're worried about foreign people being involved in our elections, then you ought to be worried about Christopher Steele being hired by the Democratic Party. And here's my question. Is this whistleblower, whoever he or she may be, do they have any connection to the intelligence community? The old intelligence community that was corrupt as hell. There's CIA agents out there risking their lives. They're American patriots. But Brennan and Clapper, I am hoping and praying that somebody will look at the way the counterintelligence investigation against the Trump campaign began. Was it based on evidence that Papadopoulos was working with the Russians, or was it based on stuff coming from countries friendly to us?
And true to form, just on CNN moments ago was clap on, clap off, clap on, clap off, Jim Clapper, to essentially run the narrative the New York Times was running, raise questions about Barr's inquiry. He's too close to the president. He's not the people's attorney at Justice. He's the president's attorney. He doesn't understand the difference. Right, please. Thankfully, Barr has about as much respect for some of these demagogues on the Hill as President Trump does. At least that's what he's demonstrated so far. So that's Graham brings up foreign interlopers generally. He talks about the unknowns with respect to the whistleblower. Mm-hmm. What about what we know about the Intelligence Community Inspector General, Michael Atkinson? This is an individual who said that he found, and by the way, this letter that he issued, the statement he issued back on September 30th, he found the information in the complaint to be an urgent concern. DNI did not. Department of Justice does not, but he did. Byron York distills this nicely in a Twitter thread, his statement. The Intelligence Community Inspector General's explanation of its whistleblower form is a confusing ass-covering mess. And it really is. From the procedures, the first-hand versus second-hand knowledge that we've talked about, you don't need first-hand knowledge.
Not anymore.
Well, then why was the box on the form? He checked the box that he had first-hand and second-hand knowledge. York also notes that the whistleblower claimed he had both second-hand and first-hand knowledge. So ICIG, the IG, did not find that the whistleblower could provide nothing more than second-hand or unsubstantiated assertions. Not clear what first-hand information is in the whistleblower complaint. Key accusations concerning the Trump-Zelensky call and alleged White House cover-up afterward are entirely second-hand. Okay, so he didn't need first-hand knowledge, but it's entirely, the idea that he didn't have first-hand knowledge, which is this argument that's being perpetrated by left. Oh, is it no conspiracy by Trump and Trump supporters that the whistleblower didn't have first knowledge? That's not true, the Inspector General said. I've gotten emails like that from Never Trumpers suggesting as much. Well, on the material point, it is true. Secondhand knowledge. And if you actually read the whistleblower complaint, the phrase from White House officials repeats itself over and over and over again, suggesting that he didn't have first-person knowledge because he didn't have it. So what about Michael Atkinson, though, the Intelligence Community Inspector General, who's being of course, lauded in the D.C. press corps because he green-lighted this whistleblower complaint. What do we know about him? He's now another major player in this saga, isn't he? For more background on Michael Atkinson and discussion of this in greater detail, we're pleased to be joined by Julie Kelly, senior contributor for American Greatness, amgreatness.com. Julie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good morning. So tell us about Michael Atkinson, because you dug into him a little bit more than some of your colleagues in the D.C. press corps did.
Right, which isn't hard to do. And, of course, the red flag is as soon as, CNN and the New York Times is giving someone the Robert Mueller treatment. You don't even have to dig a lot deeper. Just, look at the guy's Wikipedia page. So we know for a fact that Michael Atkinson, who's the Inspector General for the intelligence community, which has been after Donald Trump since at least 2015, worked in the Obama DOJ in 2016 and early 2017. He worked directly with people who are tied to the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, and his agency, where he served as senior counsel, was directly involved in preparing the FISA warrant on Carter Page.
Wow. So does he have any, partisan agenda or political grudges that you know of?
Well, I'm not sure. I don't know, but I think that these are questions that need to be asked of Michael Atkinson. I watched his Senate confirmation hearing from January of 2018. Of course, not one Republican senator asked him about his tenure in the Obama Department of Justice, especially with the National Security Division, where he worked for John Carlin and for Mary McCord. Now, John Carlin, we know for a fact, was involved in the Trump-Russia collusion investigation, and he was being briefed by Andy McCabe about both the Hillary email investigation and the counterintelligence probe into the Trump campaign. No one asked him what he knew, how he was involved, was he aware of the probe, any activity that he, as the senior counsel of this important division of DOJ, what he did. Then when John Carlin left, he went to work for Mary McCord. Mary McCord went with acting Attorney General Sally Yates to the White House to warn the White House that Mike Flynn was somehow a Russian asset, about his calls with the Russian ambassador, and warned him that he might have violated the Logan Act, and could be subject to blackmail by the Russians. So Michael Atkinson, the now Inspector General for the intelligence community, never should have been appointed by Trump, never should have been approved by a Republican Senate, and now he's the watchdog for an intelligence community we know is after Trump.
Right, and so, I mean, we don't know exactly what Michael Atkinson, what may or may not be influencing him, or if he's got a partisan political agenda, as you suggest. I mean, you can work with people and not share their views and not share their approach to matters. So that's certainly possible. But not just those connections that certainly raise questions, as you've raised, but also the quality of the work product we've seen so far. The statement he released on September 30th is replete with problems, and Byron York, among others, have pointed them out.
That's right. And aside from the fact, the president is not under the purview of any whistleblower in the intelligence community. The rules are it should be someone who works within the intelligence community, not that you blow the whistle on the president, because the president is the head of the branch that you're working for. So this is, as far as we know, unprecedented. Of course, now, Dan and Amy, you know we're going to start seeing a lot more whistleblower reports coming out of the federal government, tattling on the president for this, that, or the other thing. But Dan, to your point, not only the work product, okay, there were a couple other red flags with Atkinson's work. The whistleblower report, we know he didn't even investigate, which is part of his duty. He couldn't have investigated it because so many parts of it were wrong. Secondly, why did he send a letter not to the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is the committee that confirmed him, that he said if he had any disputes with the Director of National Intelligence, he would go to that committee? No, whose committee does he go to? Does he tattle to?
Adam Schiff.
Adam Schiff. Now,
So
we
we
also
went to
know
the
that
highly
Adam
partisan
Schiff,
House Intelligence Committee instead.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you, Amy. See, I assume everyone knows who these people are, so thank you. But he sent a letter to House Intelligence Committee tattling on the acting Director of National Intelligence, that they were at an impasse over this urgent concern whistleblower report. Sent not one letter, but two letters to Adam Schiff. We know that Adam Schiff got tweeted about this report at the end of August before it was even public.
What's your take on the comments by Lindsey Graham and me with respect to going after Barr, and as well the suggestion of what may be forthcoming from John Durham when his report is finally filed?
Well, I've been critical of Lindsey Graham. I'm quite frankly tired of his threats to write mean letters and to go on Sean Hannity or Fox News. He needs to start holding some hearings, not just about Russiagate, about Kavanaugh, about this whistleblower report. He is head of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He has a lot of power. So I would like to see him hold some hearings. But yes, this is the big cover-up, right? The media has been trying to cover up this scandal, the real scandal, that now is not just a national scandal, but an international one. And that is how the Obama